This is going to be a very, very short explanation of Brainspace. Okay, so here's how this works. So, you choose the amount of players that you want to play with, let's say 2, then you take red and blue. Of course, you can choose whatever colors you want, but in this case we'll use red and blue. Then, on your turn, take your player character and move from the start circle to a point. This is called a point, and this is a line. For you to move from one place to another, there has to be a line connecting between where you are and your destination. So let's say red wanted to move here, red could, because red would move across this line and onto that point. Or for example, red moves across this line onto here. Red cannot move to, let's say, this point, because there is no line connected between there. So, red moves. It's a turn-based game, so then blue would move. Now that you're out of the start circle, you are not allowed to move back into the start circle. That is illegal. Because obviously it might make things a little bit confusing, and I would prefer it if people didn't go back to the start. So from where you are, you can move across a line to any other point. So red could move from here to here, or from here to here, or here to here, or you get it. So red moves this way. Then blue tries to run away. Blue takes this path. You see this lock? That is called a lock. It's a point, except it is square. The difference between that is that moving onto it, you have the choice of moving again. So, moving here, then blue, let's say blue chooses to move again, blue can move onto this lock, and then chooses to move again, and he can move onto this point. When going through locks like this, you do not ever have the choice of going backwards to the previous point or lock. So, blue could not do this and then go back again. That is illegal. And blue could not do this either. You may have already noticed this small pentagon here. This pentagon is a different kind of element, which works the same as a lock. It's called a station. The way that a lock works, remember that when you move onto it, you have the choice of moving again. But with a station, moving onto it, you have to move again. So let's say with red moving across here, he has the choice of doing that, or he could stop at the lock if he wanted to. But red could not just willingly stop at the station like that. Red has to move all the way across. The way to win the game is by killing all of the other players, and the way that you do that is by bashing them. To bash a player, you simply move from where you are onto the space of another player, and that player is bashed. That player is then removed from the game, and they can't join until another game is started. But of course, if it was blue's turn, then blue could easily kill red just like that. But if you have such a big map, obviously it can take a very, very long time to kill people, so there is a lot of other stuff I've added to make killing faster and more interesting. For example, this zap circle. When a player is standing inside the zap circle, this is what a zap circle looks like, a black point in the center, and then 2 circles around it. The outer circle is the outer ridge, and the inner circle is the inner ridge. If a player is to pass through or is already inside the between the outer ridge and the inner ridge of the zap circle, then any player standing in the middle will activate that zap circle, and any player within that radius will die. But let's say red is here, and blue is on this point, which is inside of the inner ridge, then blue is safe, even if the zap circle is activated. A zap circle can be used to protect yourself. For example, if red is here and blue is here, let's say it's blue's turn, blue wants to bash red, but blue is unable to, because while moving across this line to bash red, blue has to cross through this border, which is activated by red. If red was instead here, then this would be safe to go through and onto this zap circle. But otherwise, blue has the choice of going here, of course, but then blue gets caught by the zap circle and is removed from the game. So that is obviously not a good move. Then, there is remote zap circles. A remote zap circle is a zap circle, except it is activated remotely. So it has a hexagon in the center, and it has a dotted outline so that you can tell the difference between a zap circle and a remote zap circle very easily. And the hexagon in the center means that there is no way to get to this point. You can see that there are no lines connecting to the point at all. So red could not move from here to here because there is no way. in order to activate this remote zap circle, since you can't get to the middle, you have to follow along this cable, and you can see here. So if red were to be here, then you can imagine a signal passing through this cable and then activating this remote zap circle. So if blue was here and it was blue's turn and you try to move into here, obviously all of this is, well, being fried continuously, so then blue would be removed from the game. Or let's say blue was chilling inside here, now it's red's turn, red moves onto here and fries everything in there, and blue is gone. Then we have transposition chambers. When a player moves onto a transposition chamber, then instantaneously that player gets to move to a different transposition chamber. This is what a transposition chamber looks like. It has this small pattern on the outside, and of course it has the filled in point or lock. So blue moving onto here, there's only one other transposition chamber on this map, so blue would then teleport immediately to there in the same turn. So let's say we had blue over here and red over here. Blue moves this way, then red moves here, blue moves here, red moves here. Now it's blue's turn, blue moves into this transposition chamber and immediately transports to here, and then it is red's turn. One thing to make the game more fun is that if you look in the center here, this is a point in the middle as the transposition chamber, and this is a lock. So red moving onto the point and just simply teleporting to a different one, and then the next player's turn. But if you were to move into a transposition chamber with a lock in the center, then after teleporting you get to make another move. So if, let's say, blue is here and red is here, red can then move into this transposition chamber. This is a lock, so he can teleport to here and then kill blue immediately afterwards. But if blue was here and red was here, red moving into this, since that is a point, not a lock, then red transporting over to here, he cannot make a second move, and then blue can obviously kill him. Using transposition chambers is completely optional. Red could move onto this point without using it, red could just chill there, and then the next turn would go on. Then we have the zap beam. The zap beam is like a zap circle, except it affects this whole range. So red moving on to this point here would kill everybody in here. Everything there is fried. So let's say blue was here, it's blue's turn, blue tries moving into here, blue is dead and removed from the game. Let's say that red was here, and blue was inside of the range. It is red's turn, red moves onto here, then blue is fried and he is out of the game. And last but not least, we have the translation cube. When a player moves into the center of a translation cube, just like a transposition chamber, the player can immediately use that gadget's ability. Yes, these are all called gadgets. This is a gadget, 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 gadget. Just so you know. So, red moving into the center of this translation cube, he can then teleport to any point within the area of the translation cube. So, let's say red is here, red moves here and immediately activates the ability, red can then immediately teleport there. So, again, red is here, red moves into this translation cube and then can immediately transport to any of these 2 points, because those are the only 2 within the range. It doesn't count lines. Then red can immediately transport himself here. But keep in mind that, let's say blue was here, then red could not use this translation cube to act as a sort of bashing mechanism to kill blue. It doesn't work like that. You cannot translate onto the same point that another player is on. So that keeps you from killing people like that. You cannot do that. But one thing that you can do is, if you remember locks, immediately when you move onto them, you have the choice of moving again. So you can use a lock chain like this, or one here for example. So you can remember that using this translation cube and I move onto this lock here, if you take a close look you can see that's a lock, then as soon as I move onto there I have the choice of moving again, so I can move my red character for example to here, or across this lock chain, or wherever I want. As long as it's part of this lock chain, of course. That is your full explanation of Brainspace. Hope you learned something.